Welcome to Beyond All Reasons weekly community massive real-time strategy multiplayer event, King of the Hill. This is not a skirmish, this is not a ladder match, this is not two players politely trading units and shaking hands at the 10-minute mark. This is controlled chaos. King of the Hill is where Beyond All Reasons stops being about individual mechanics and starts being about scale, about pressure, about what happens when you take some of the best builders, planners and improvisers in the community and you force them into a single brutal objective: hold the center or tear it down. At the heart of the map, the Kings, outnumbered, surrounded, resource rich but time poor. Every decision they make echoes across the entire battlefield. And surrounding them, the peasants, an ever-growing tide of players, economies, unit compositions, and widely different ideas of how the hill should fall. What makes King of the Hill truly special isn't just the size of the battles, though yes, the battles get absolutely absurd. It's the eco-scaling. It's the way cooperation becomes mandatory, not optional. It's the fact that no one player wins this alone. You'll see coordinated build orders across multiple players. You'll see shared responsibilities, who scales, who defends, who techs, who floods. You'll see moments when a single failed lane collapses a defensive ring, and moments where perfect teamwork holds back an army that should have won. And joining me shortly, when the lava recedes, AllReasonNoLogic's own Praetor and Tank Tom. Before the fireworks start, let's talk rules, because King of the Hill only works when the structure is tight. First and foremost, no offensive structures, no creeping turrets, no forward pork lines walking their way to victory. Why? Because offensive structures make this format boring. They remove the need for coordination, timing and risk. King of the Hill is about armies, movement and decision making under pressure, not slowly building an unkillable line that underplays the event. Second, and this is crucial, the 10-minute no rush timer. So what should players be doing during that no rush window? Let's start with the Kings. There are 9 Kings positioned around the top of the map. For 8 of them, the job is clear, but not easy. Build a reasonable economy, not greedy, not reckless. You must defend 2 entrances into the King's base. You must establish solid layered defenses, and you must build an army that can respond quickly. Because if one lane falls, it doesn't fall alone. Then there's the Center King. Heart of the hill. This player scales harder than anyone else. They push economy aggressively but responsibly. They are the economic backbone of the Kings. They're also the fire brigade. If a side lane buckles, if pressure spikes unexpectedly, the middle king is often the one who has to step in, redirect resources and keep the entire structure from collapsing. Now let's talk about the peasants, because this is where the King of the Hill event gets wild. First, the peasants at the entrance of the King's base. Your job is to defend, and you are encouraged to pork. Pork, derived from porcupine. It's the strategy of building extremely dense, concentrated defenses in a small area, making the base ruthless to penetrate. You are the first wall the Kings will crash into. Next, the peasants on the small hill, the grassy knolls. You get a little breathing room, but not much. You can build some economy, but make no mistake, you're on a timer. By about the 6 or 7 minute mark, it is our experienced recommendation that your responsibility shifts. Build units, lots of units. Preparing a flood, getting ready to surge the moment that no rush timer ends. When the lava recedes, you go. No hesitation, no second guessing. Overwhelmed through numbers, timing, micro and coordination. Then we have the players scattered around the central edges of the map. You've got options. Some of you will go straight into units. Others might choose to resource boost a T2 economy, committing early tech, scaling hard, and then converting that power back into sustained pressure. High risk, high reward, and absolutely lethal if timed well. And finally, the corners, the commie corners. These are not solo positions, these are cooperation checks. You don't build 5 T2 labs, you build one. That's if you have good game sense. One shared between a handful of players, you work together, you scale together, and you become the long game answer to the king's advantage. If you coordinate, you become unstoppable. If you don't, you feed, you fail. King of the Hill, where macro meets madness, where teamwork beats mechanics, where preparation matters, but adaptation matters more. The stage is set. What is coming?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Something ominous in... Oh, wait, Twig, I'm not supposed to say that part, am I? Hold on. You pulled a message up last time we recorded this and you stuffed up the recording. What did that say again? Oh, yeah. Don't tell people the secret thing that we're not supposed to tell people. Oh, right, yeah. I'm not supposed to read that part either. Never mind. But the action is on, and just like last time, Tank Tom is here to guide us through. Tank Tom, how's the action going? Tank Tom? Tank Tom? Oh, wait. Not here, because again, Twig stuffed up the recording, so we're doing it a second time.
Yeah, I'm not the most tech-savvy bloke out there, hey. Oh, we're missing on the right. So distracted by Protato's lane. Dominus rushed by a whole bunch of pawns, and more pawns, and they've gone straight for the build pair, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some of this advanced conversion go, and a few more pawns getting through. Is there going to be a reaction out of the middle? Got Ollie. Knows how to eco.
When you get units in the middle, you got to pick and choose where you're going to throw them. Too much build power, and they can throw up the defenses like this. But if you can snipe that build power, then that is a big loss early on. Though, if you look at Ollie's base, splitting up that build power, very, very helpful. The Pawn's journey, though, does seem to have found himself a wind farm. 2x2, ladies and gentlemen, 2x2. Though, that being said, being in the middle like this, I do tend to do something similar, because if there is units in the middle, it's usually more of a problem than the time it would have taken to build those ones. The big problem here, though, is Shunks, who has built himself a wind farm connected to conversion, connected to build power. Yeah, you hate to see it.
That really hurts. Very valuable pawn there, but actually ended up being killed by the other side there, and Ollie getting rid of some of the conversion there, going into that T2. Eco is big. We're looking at our 4th APHIS now, just after the 12-minute mark. If one person knows how to eco, that is Ollie, one of the AllReasonNoLogic regulars. Let's just hope he can help patch up any leaks this team might have. It is a good one, so stick around, guys. This one of the better King of the Hills I've ever seen.
And something pretty interesting that's going to be coming up. We recently tested one of the new settings in the game, which allows you to match the starting resources with the bonus you have. So if you start with a 50% bonus, you will start with 50% more starting resources.
It's such a game changer.
Yeah, it means the players at the front can get to essentially the same position, but it means ecoing like this is going to be harder, because you're going to be missing out. Even something like 10 to 20% doesn't sound like a big deal. When you're talking about exponential scaling, it really, really is. So hopefully that'll bring the kings back in line in the late game, compared to what the peasants have had to deal with recently. So we're excited to be showing that one off next week.
What really has been, not really a problem, but has been happening in a lot of games, is we've been getting a lot of the same kings joining in the middle of the maps. By the way, anyone is welcome to be a king. Just as long, when I say anyone, that's a complete lie. As long as you know a little bit out of the game, we're not going to get a one Chev first game in, because that will just be a lane that falls. But what I'm saying is, same people have been jumping in, and they've just been absolutely exponentially scaling those ecos way too quickly. And this bonus that Pradith mentioned, it's going to reduce the effects of that scaling. It's going to take longer for them to get like multiple APHISs up, so it's going to make the games a little bit closer. Instead of a 60 to 70% bonus, we're going to be looking at 45 to 65 maybe.
I actually suspect we'll be able to get away with a nice flat 50 for most things, because it allows the players in the front to get the defenses and the units they need to deal with that first part of the game, and prevents such insane scaling later on. So
one of the biggest things is that first construction turret comes up without bottoming out on the eco, because you've got 15 on the 50% bonus. You're going to have 1,500 energy instead of 1,000. You're going to have 1,500 metal. Wow, Aphis City.
And this is one of the things that, whilst it's very good for the kings to be able to build this much eco, they're currently building it under very little threat, which is what we want to change for them. We want to make the fronts that little bit less, similarly equal. We don't want that middle player to be able to do this. We want to see some of those earlier game plays. We want to see peasants fall. We want to see kings fall. All of that good stuff.
What we haven't touched on yet, I mean, I did in the intro, the bonuses for this game. We're at 69%, and we've got 69 enemies. Currently 68, actually. One's dead and left. So, yes. Definitely not me being a bit immature picking those numbers.
See, last time we did this cast, you tried to make it as though you might try to make it out like it was planned that way. You even sent me a message telling me to stop calling you out on it.
If anyone's going to call me out on absolutely everything, it's definitely you, bro.
And the best part is, no one can verify whether you did or didn't send the message, so I can just claim you did, and that's good enough.
What we're going to focus on now is a little bit around the edge of the map. So these corners, we typically see the commie ecos. We got Lloyd over here. Keep an eye on this lane. It's a very important position later in this map. And yes,
on very important position, this is not a position that I would build my APHIS in. You have all this space all the way up into that back corner of that cliff.
Go there.
Build it as far into that cliff as you can, because this is in range of catapults. That corner is not in range of catapults. This is in range of even things like arbiters. That is not. So bear that one in mind when you're building. Plan your build for the worst case scenario, because if you're the corner that gets attacked, if you can live even for a minute longer because you positioned your base well, it means it's a minute of time that the players around you don't have to deal with 2 more kings pressuring them down. It's 2 more minutes that they can either build up or get prepared. It's 2 more minutes that they can get their assault on and maybe pull the forces back. You would be shocked at how many games have been won or lost because of timing and things like that.
Lloyd now with some starlights on the front line, and Domina's doing really well. We just witnessed the power of the beamer. Beamer's shutting down an absolute bucket load of blitzers and pawns. Against these starlights, though, we've got a bunch of the salamanders coming in, along with Juggernaut.
Salamanders get one shot by pulsars. I didn't even realize the starlight was that strong.
They're big boys. They do a lot of damage.
They're big boys.
They do need a little bit more spam, and we can see the spam coming a little bit more online there. And a mammoth coming to save the day. They're actually getting shut down really well. The brute's doing well against them.
Anything that you can mass will do quite well against high damage, low fire rate.
Well, that's a lot of Razorbacks over here on the top right, supported by a couple of Vanguards. They're just holding position there while it looks like the Vanguards are trying to take out Sky to Fox's defenses, getting the Scorpion a couple of pop-ups and probably that build power to disappear. But we're going to jump back down to this bottom left where we've actually got a leak. Some Centurions.
While we're watching that leak, one of the things you have to bear in mind, both as the peasants and the kings, it's effective use of metal. If those units are sitting there not doing anything, you could have built more eco, you could be getting further ahead. If they are defending good enough, if they're attacking good enough, but you don't want to needlessly lose those units. So right there, we know from what we could see that that would have been a good time for those Razorbacks to push in, but the peasants don't have a way of knowing that. Still, sometimes you just got to risk it for the biscuit. And this is where the players in the front, if there was tick spam, which has just started now, it would have been a phenomenal bit of knowledge that might have let them win the game early.
Absolutely. Scarv and Ollie both sending units to other lanes. Really important in King of the Hill. Don't just be aware of your own lane. Scarv coming over here to assist Dominus, where we're getting a lot of pressure out of this bottom right corner with Stu Dubs there, Commander right on the front line, trying to get some D-guns out against those hounds. And similarly, Ollie with the catapults. Now, catapults, fantastic offensively. Defensively, high risk, high reward, but probably more so err on the side of high risk. Sky to Fox, invisible comm. Sorry to jump over here. Or
does look like that big
Razorbacks.
attack is happening. It's cleared everything out, but it is taking a decent amount of damage by going wide and fighting into those snipers. The comm's also done a good job in taking a lot of those out, but those Razorbacks are in. Looking at what's happening here, though, you've got one player with the Razorbacks and one player producing ticks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players that could be adding T1 to this with no questions asked. And that could, if they came online 20 seconds before, 30 seconds before this big attack pushed through, there'd be more Razorbacks alive, there would be T1 units scouting and protecting, and whilst they've taken one player out, and it looks like they're going to get in here, they now have to fight a couple of bulwarks, there's plenty of construction turrets, and no matter what they get here, it's only going to be a segment of the economy. They're not going to... It's going to be very unlikely that they're going to break through, which, as we can see with those catapults firing in such mass, they're not going to break through here.
Oh, man,
more spread out, more
shucks.
T1 units could have been big damage.
I'm not going to say it out loud, but you guys can read that.
The conversion rebuilt in the same place and attached to the build turrets this time. Complete and utter
Why do I feel like that's not
destruction
the
right
last
there.
time we're going to see that? Not because I've watched this 3 times now and had to recast. I'm so sorry for that, Bradith. It's a rookie mistake of casters not having their audio set up properly.
Look, the truth is that Twig just didn't like the last cast we did, and so he's pretending that there was something wrong with it, because he knows that we'd come and do it. We'd come and do it again anyway.
That kind.
But yes, the other thing is that the defense in that middle section was done mostly by catapults once that front line was destroyed. If you had T1 tick units, those catapults would try to, or just any T1 units, those catapults would try to destroy them anyway. Just put them near anything. The catapults will do the rest for you.
Ooh, Misty gun out of Detanza there. That could spell death to the commander if it doesn't go invisible in time, which is the case, and another commander going. So things pushing out in a good way. It was looking a little bit nasty for them at the top right, with that hole now being filled by Sky to Fox's demons, as well as backed up by Ollie's catapults. There's
a decent bit of defense here, though. We do have mammoths, beamers. We're about to have a pulsar, all of that good stuff, and the force is petering out, especially with them trying to dip towards the bottom. Hopefully, we'll see the Kings really break out somewhere soon. There's plenty of T3 to do it. They just need to pick the right approach angle.
Absolutely. Still, we're looking at the same weakness here on the bottom left. Potato building up the units, going into mass tanks, going into the T3 lab at the same time. Eco is full, so the biggest improvement here would be a bit of build power, and we could see a lot of units come out here, especially being tanks. Once they can breach one of these ramps, they're really hard to stop in big numbers.
I'd be very interested at the end of this game to see just how much metal and energy was wasted by the Kings team, because ecos this big are hard to spend.
We've got one king that's disappeared. We had 1, 2, 3 peasants fall, so looking pretty even right now. The Kings are actually ahead in metal per second right now, which is really, this is a really big eco, and this is what we're hoping that bonus that we were, that setting that we were talking about earlier will maybe improve this. This scaling is just insane for Kings if they're left to just scale and not have to build units at the start.
One of the big things is that APHIS at the moment is providing what is it? It's 3,000 energy with 69% on top of that, so it's providing close to 5,000 energy. You then convert those at 600 energy per 17 metal. You end up well and truly into the hundreds of metal per APHIS, so Ollie's producing 2,100 metal. If you get enough eco early enough, you can continue to scale at a good pace while producing units, because you are producing more than you would have been if you scaled slightly slower, which I know is a really dumb way of saying that. But the idea behind reducing that overall bonus and giving that little bit extra at the beginning is so that the player in the middle doesn't get that amount of eco where if they need to respond to something, they can keep ecoing in the background anyway. They have to switch. If you put pressure on, they have to switch off of economy and switch purely onto units. And then once they've dealt with it, switch back. It's to get rid of the ability to just keep scaling no matter what's going on in the game, because your money is already so far out of control.
Spot on. You can really see here, King of the Hill. It's not about microing those units absolutely well. It's about just absolutely ramming everything you've got down your opponent's guts. So many units lost out of the Kings there, but they have still managed to get through with these Razorbacks now on the front line pushing through here. There is a commander there. Hopefully we see that take it down. And we have some of the first T3 down from this bottom left corner of the map. We'll call it south. Meow Meow in position, hoping to get some D-guns out there.
Does it look like on the left-hand side, that push that is coming in, it's been quite a while coming. One of the problems that it faced was that units were coming up in a trickle, and these 3 beamers and the pit bulls, plus the handful of units that's been there, were just able to snipe everything off one at a time. Now the Razorbacks are here and they're punching in, but they also didn't exactly wait for a lot of the brutes behind. They took a lot of extra damage there that could have been transferred onto those T1 units. Aggression is good, but do try to make sure that aggression is timed well with the other units that are coming down the pipeline.
And make sure you have the right unit selection. You can see here, peasants sending defensive marauders. In this composition, which is clearly visible to the peasants, there are a ton of sharpshooters, and you can just see how quickly sharpshooters take out the marauders as they now turn around. We've got a handful of here, and each shot's going to take off about, I think, a third of the life of a marauder. With all these tanks, these marauders are not lasting too long, and there's going to be a bit of a metal feed if we can see some res bots sent up there by the Kings. Oh, top right. We've had another
when
big push.
When you're choosing unit composition, one of the things, oh, this is actually really good, ticks inside of the we're just inside of the catapult line. Ticks are the answer to catapults, just by the way. But talking about unit compositions, oh no. Vanguards, baby.
Third time base dead.
Vanguards.
This isn't looking good for the
And if you
Kings
don't
right
have
now.
build power separated, you're not going to get more build power down.
You can see here what Ollie's done is a really nice base set out. So we saw earlier this corner fall that my mouse is over. Let's actually just zoom in a little bit more to the action. There's 3 other big patches of build power. One going down there. He's going to get that up really quickly. There's actually 4 other patches. Second King's commander going down. They're just down to 4 commanders now. Getting up these bulwarks though should shut down a bit of this, especially with the big Juggernaut coming. That's going to take out a lot of these Razorbacks. Are these Razorbacks going to target down the build power here? That's what we really want to see out of them. They're not going to kill a Juggernaut. That's exactly what Cyphos is doing.
That Juggernaut is a prime example of why I was saying that T1 units are so important. It only just started targeting Razorbacks with its large laser. Its first 6 or so shots went straight onto ticks. And that meant that the Razorbacks, whilst they didn't get everything, they only got a little bit of the build power. It could have been the difference. And that's a big difference for only a handful of cost.
A great choice out of Ollie here. He's actually going into Fiends to help push this back, and you'll see how much that helps. But over here, we've got 2 Vanguards. You can see by that circle, they are now in range with the Aphis pop. That was scouted out by those Razorbacks before. Anyone that doesn't know the rules, one just broken, a Juno just hitting Ollie's base. Defensive structures only, people. The reason we do that is it's just way too easy to creep on the Kings with a an offensive structure wall.
Thankfully, those EMPs hitting where there is basically nothing for them to hit.
Yeah.
So not the end of the world.
3 Kings lanes now sufficiently defeated up here, but army value 86% in the favour of the Kings right now. They have a lot more metal, and a lot of it's in these couple jugs. Or these, how many jugs do we have? Probably up to 10. Whew. Whew.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually consider the army value to be that much in favor of the Kings, even though by metal it most certainly is. If there's 10 jugs, then the Kings only actually have like what, 100,000 metal value plus jugs, and the peasants have 263. So it's certainly not as big of a gap as it might sound like.
And hello, Psycho Pew Pew. Taking out a lot of this southern extent of peasants with these handful of Shivas. Shivas plasma shot coming out of the front of their arms, and got a double rocket on the back. It's essentially a SAR with a Arbiter strapped to its back. I love them. A lot of people don't. They do a lot though. They are very versatile siege units.
And that does clear out some of the... That clears out some of the middle, which has really isolated the group on the left.
Check
Something
it out.
which,
that's all dead. All of that's dead.
Something which should be noted, the players on the left, they didn't successfully co-op eco and transition into units when needed. And without that backup of building the right sort of units at the right time, this corner really did suffer for not having any of the bigger units to defend with when the time came.
Yeah, I didn't miss that.
Scaling is what's needed to win. But if you're the corner that's getting poked down, you need to convert everything you can into survival so the other corners can do the scaling that you no longer can.
And you're probably wondering, like, okay, so when do you switch to units? The answer is when a king reaches a lane and is able to send a substantial army up that lane. If you are the closest corner to that lane that's breached, so essentially for this bottom left, if it's anywhere through here, if you have any mass amount of king army coming at you, come online, you can resume eco once you push them back down that ramp, because it is actually quite hard for them to push back up a ramp if you've completely vacated them from the hill. It's a lot easier for them to just maintain their army coming up if they don't have to go through a small choke point.
One of the things to bear in mind, if you lose the players in front of you, you're not just losing the thing protecting you, you're losing the backup when you push out with T2 and T3. Those T1 units are what make the T2 and T3 pushes succeed. You're the damage, they're the front line. You're the damage, they're the scouts. You're the damage, they are soaking and doing everything they can to keep your units alive. And without that, you are going to be in big trouble, because as soon as they claim that ground in front of your corner, they can start shelling up, and there's not a lot you can do about it, because you have to push down a ramp to meet them.
Yeah, and yeah, tick spam, it really helps. This is T3 versus ticks, and they're having to kind of stop, because once these ticks get amongst the vanguards, they don't go down quite quickly. I mean, yes, there is a Juggernaut right in front that's completely ignoring it. This is where awesome TTV, guessing it's Twitch channel, should be taking their commander, putting it on invis, and having it at that entrance as soon as you're hearing that stiff laser come out the face of the Jug.
Looking around the map though, back towards the top, we're seeing just continuous pressure in the top right hand side, but the Juggernauts have managed to finally push this one back, but they've reached a point where they've taken so much damage that they've started not quite chain reacting, but they're still doing a lot of damage to themselves. And again, this is what we're talking about, T1 versus T3. There's a handful of snipers, a handful of Razorbacks, and then everything else is being pushed back by that T1.
Okay, so now we're in a situation where essentially I'd say top right very much in peasants' favour, and then the entire left from that line to that line, probably about 30% of the peasants are as good as out. There is one player, Toby, that is going to be facing King one-on-one. They do have a bit of an eco, but it's being built whilst building units. There's only a Shiva coming out every, maybe 20 seconds. Compared that to a King, they're going to be popping out a lot more units a lot faster. So that lane, that corner of the map is going to mean that we have Potato. They can pretty much go wherever they want on the map after this. I dare say it's going to be to swing around to this bottom right that we are keeping our eye on. Demons now currently pushing in. We do have some vanguards out though.
These demons are going to get a nice amount of damage. Again, we do normally talk about how important it is to keep the wind spread, but the truth is that if the units are getting this deep in, you're probably losing a lot of it anyway. The argument then becomes whether or not it's worth it to slow down your building in order to make them take longer to kill it. In this situation, it wouldn't really have mattered because demons doing what demons do.
Yeah, that fire will just go through whatever they're hitting and hit the next thing behind it as well. Getting quite far, but now that we're in the range of these 3 Rebsy pulsars, they're gonna pop quite quickly.
Demon's great offensively, especially because you can press S and keep that flame going to target things when they move. But they do fall down to not very much damage. They're not made of paper, but they're probably made of aluminium.
And we just see there those vanguards coming down over this hill and being used as a siege unit. No spam needed. Okay.
You do what you got to do.
Probably more in the favour of the Kings now. Got a bigger army. Eco's pretty much the same. And that's a great sign for the Kings at this stage. We're at 30 minutes.
Now, one of the things which I started touching on but didn't quite get to, choosing the right unit for the job. This was talking back to those Marauders. Marauders, when you buy a Marauder, it's 470 odd metal, is it? It's more than that, isn't it?
Something that's fine to learn. It's 900, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
970.
Anyway, you're paying for its speed. Every stat is accounted for when it comes to the total value of a unit. And one of the things you pay dearly for from the Marauders is speed. They have decent damage, but nothing crazy, but it is the speed. So that means if you're using them defensively, the only time that you really want to use them defensively is when you are... is when you need to get them to the place to defend and something else won't make it. In the same vein, a Juggernaut spends a lot of its money for a single high damage laser, a scatter shot, and then a nuclear explosion when it blows up. That makes them very, very strong for offense, because it means even if they die, they're going to explode and do a lot of damage with them. But for defense, they're not doing such a good job. And you can see that in the fact that the damage dealt is currently in favor of the peasants. They're doing 9.4 million compared to 7.5, even though the army value is in favor of the Kings. So much of the army value is in high damage, slow firing, big chunky boys, whereas so much of it's in small units that are actually engaging from the peasants. So it's just one of those things where you need to consider your unit choice. And the other problem is that Juggernauts on defense, they explode. So they need to be a certain distance away from your stuff. If you have to defend close to your stuff, defending with a Juggernaut is probably not ideal.
Still here coming in for a D-gun. We just saw Koala go for a triple D-gun out of... Did I just see a D-gun take off like 80% of a Juggernaut and not fully kill it?
I think it's because it was right at the very edge of the range.
I have never seen that before.
And the D-gun didn't fully damage register.
Wow. I've never seen that. Anyway, probably better D-guns out of Koala before. Koalas, Australia's local drop bears. Watch out for them. Very dangerous animal.
If you come to Australia, don't mistake koalas and drop bears. They look similar. One of them's dangerous, one of them's not. So just be a bit careful with that.
Self-detonate on this Juggernaut here, even though the one... Oh, that's the demon next to it. My bad. This is going to do quite a bit of damage. This should actually take out these... Yeah, there you go. Wow, that was actually a very well timed self-detonation right when the health was down. Taking out all that production through this area here. Fantastically done.
Just remember, if you self-detonate a Juggernaut, its explosion radius and damage is greater than if it just gets destroyed.
Now we've got the Juggernaut similarly. I wouldn't mind seeing the same thing, a Control D here. Oh, as I say it. Some conversion going down there. Is this going to take out? I don't think it's actually going to... Oh, he cancelled it.
I don't think it's going to get the self-D off. It's taking so much damage from those pulsars. But it's still taken a bunch of them out, which is good enough.
That would have actually taken those last two out if the self-D paid off. Nicely done though. It is looking a little bit tough down there, but really nicely done by the handful of players on this bottom right corner. Looking back up top, we've got a couple of king pushes out. So peasants, maybe not as much in favour as they were before. Top left, we've got titans with some demons, and Razorbacks. That is taking out this eco. I wouldn't be surprised if this APHIS goes pop. This is where we need full protection coming online. Over here we got some build power. We got no lab. No lab. Good D guns.
You cannot, as much as you want to keep scaling, you cannot keep scaling because you can't fight the kings alone. You have to pick a point where you need to get into units and help. You can go back to scaling after that, but it is so important to build units.
So many Juggernauts over here. Is Iraq going to get some D guns off? We actually have a rule break over here. The paralyzers have been built and they were being used offensively. So this player unfortunately was removed from the game. Not the one that you can see on the screen. Invisible Scroll wasn't shooting them. He just took them and turned them off. Good hits there out of Iraq, taking out some of those jugs, but they should get in a little bit further. How did the Ghost go against
just
jugs?
something to note. If they'd been fired at the Juggernauts, not a problem. That's what they're there for. It's the fact that they were being fired at the production.
Unfortunately, none of those being used. That's a lot of metal gone in Ghosts. But, very nice D-guns, taking out another 2 there with a single D-gun. Pity that third one didn't pay off. And even though we saw a lot of pushing here in the corner of our screen out of the Kings, now, Peasants are back on the offensive. Titans.
That push in the top right only had 1 player's worth of spam in front of it. It was 9 Titans, it was 32 snipers, it was 12 Vanguards, and the whole thing got pushed back by essentially a couple of Juggernauts, some Razorbacks, and a little bit of spam. And again, this is just how important spam is. If there had been 3 or 4 players of spam, this genuinely would have been a winning push.
Man.
But instead, we're seeing the Juggernauts coming up on the right-hand side and starting to clear out the players that would otherwise have been incredibly helpful for getting damage into the middle of the base.
Is Ollie going to be able to get that next lot of APHIS? We've got another 2. Every APHIS you get, that's another peasant going at least, if not more. Is he going to get this last one? You can see it maybe. Has he? No.
That pulsar line is just doing such a good job of taking out the Juggernauts. It's so much damage when that full laser beam hits.
Does get it. He gets a bunch of fusions.
Does get it.
So Ollie getting a lot of damage there. We've now got another pocket here breaking up the remaining peasants. I would say Kings now back in favour. You can see all stats there. No, I'm reading that wrong. Peasants do have a higher eco right now. Kings holding steady though. It's been well over 15 or so minutes since the base has fallen. You can see here as well, Juicy Bag rebuilding, getting an APHIS up, going into an actual behemoth at the same time. That's an interesting choice. Very expensive. But
look, I like
Overflow
behemoths,
City coming from Ollie.
but you need to build them for the right reason. And right now, that's the only way that I would say that they're worthwhile is if you're trying to push up and push down.
They are too slow as well in King of the Hill because you've got too many commanders from the peasants. There's 21 left. A commander's going to just walk all the way right up to it, whereas Juggernaut, it's got the shotgun out of its chest, so it has a chance of doing some damage if it comes up on the radar. Similarly, Juggernauts can, I think, maybe outrun. What are we at?
Do you know what solves most of those problems?
Versus speed.
Spam solves both of those problems.
So a similar speed. Commander 1 faster than... Hey, look at this bottom right. They have managed to foil the entire push that was coming here. No eco lost. This corner here of the map, Rebsy, Lloyd, the rest, I'm going to miss you. I'm not even going to try and search for the names. They've done really well. They've found the right units, the right pork to stop the Kings from continuously pushing around. And that means that Psycho Pew Pew is not able to go and help a different lane.
The thing is,
at the top left.
There's not a lot of units being produced in the bottom right, which means that whilst, yes, these players are tied up attacking, you could just attack somewhere else. I would not want to attack up to an area that's protected by 6 pulsars, multiple rattlesnakes, titans, vanguards, the whole lot. I'd just push somewhere else. 36 Juggernauts on the field. Titans getting in.
They're taking out the build power. This is another reset for douchey bag. Unfortunately, all that build power clumped together. I think there was two different clumps of it. So, and there you go, APHIS reset. At least that one can be resurrected.
Once you start falling behind in Kings, as long as the peasants keep putting pressure on you, you stay behind, because while the eco bonus is nice, it is not enough to deal with the number of peasants.
One improvement for you, Ollie? You've done absolutely amazing in this game. When these players fall, give them one APHIS and a few converters.
Yep. I agree with that completely. The amount of time you can get back into a game in about 5 minutes, properly get back into a game if you have an APHIS and 4 converters, or 6 converters actually, when there's a plus 60% bonus. That's such a... The limiting factor is build power.
What we're starting to see is resbots really being worked into some compositions here. Like you can just see Juggernauts now being resurrected. Watch behind. I kill you for fun. And others, Koala, Rosie on the right, all going into the resbots. Why build your own army if you can just send the King's army back at them?
Correct.
Big Kagi push on the right here. We've got 2 APHIS right there. This should be an easy kill. Psycho Pew Pew. Although, Gargaroth, double D-gun, 3 down. An extra D-gun into thin air just to make sure they're dead. And suddenly these are not going to get the kill. Can he even see them? He can see the APHIS. But we do have a pulsar there, followed by 2 more. Wow, that really just takes them out so quickly. They go down.
Yeah, Karganeths, again, when you buy a Karganeth, you're paying for its ability to traverse cliffs. So it loses things like high damage, it loses things like large amounts of health. So the defenses are doing a great job of absolutely destroying those ones, but the COM taking a series out with D-guns was one of the important factors.
Game's starting to slow down. There are a lot of units in this game, and I think I need a PC upgrade for Bar. unless there's some multi-millionaire out there that wants to get in touch.
Unfortunately, PCs have just become so expensive with the... and it looks like they're about to become more expensive as well. GPUs going up in price because of the RAM shortage, and then RAM itself going up in price. I used to build computers for less than the cost of RAM these days.
Rebsy here pushing forward. Actually completely sending this King back in the other direction. One improvement here, I mean it's happening right there, get those res bots in big numbers right behind. He did resurrect the T3, reclaim the T1, I'd suggest. You can see right there, there is 63,000 metal. You could just explode your eco with that. Go and build 10 APHIS in a block. Just do that for like, you'd honestly get that done in less than 10 minutes. Well less than 10 minutes. We got Behemoths pushing over here.
The other thing you can do is just res it and have an army.
This is dangerous over here on the north. Sorry to jump over here, Prey. A lot of these Juggernauts are on very low health. We're going to see some fireworks, I reckon.
I really hope that they start chain reacting, because it is very rare you see Juggernauts in this sort of numbers. Target fire those mid-strength ones, and then tick off all the low ones with explosions. That'll be fantastic. And whilst they're not technically chain reacting, they are getting each other so low that we're seeing Juggernaut after Juggernaut after Juggernaut explode, which is fantastic.
Especially with all these vanguards behind here. There are so many of them.
Pumping the damage. They are in fact rocking the Caspar. And look, we're getting defensive EMPs coming down, but they were a little bit late on the mark, so the vanguards got out of the way. When you fire those ones, grab the whole lot, use the click and drag, and you can spread them out nicely. You'll catch a lot more than just focusing fire on one spot.
The great thing here is this massive army out of the peasants has dragged all these jugs over here, and now the pressure coming out of a lot of the peasants there on the left. Another Juggernaut going down, and another, and another. Oh wow. And another.
One thing I want to point out, your army value and your damage dealt are now in favor of the peasants. So even with this super Juggernaut force, The peasants have more army.
Oh my god, that was about. They're not. They're still, it's not. It's not. And another. And another.
And another one. And another one.
DJ Khaled. Oh god.
There we go.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen so many Juggernauts die that quickly in a PvP. Rosie trying to get some comms in over here.
The Juggernauts have been doing quite well, but they haven't managed to defend fully. They haven't managed to get too much onto the offense since that initial Jug push. What would you be building instead of Juggernauts right now?
It's really tricky. Let's just click Ollie's base. What is the unit cap currently? Got 670 out of 730, and most of that is in build power. It's really tough. I'd probably reclaim some of the unused build power, like this patch over here.
I'd just send stuff to other people. I'd just be like, here, have lab. I overflow.
Or even go and build a whole bunch of... What I'd probably do is I'd build a bunch of jugs, and then I'd give them to another player and say, leave them there.
Yep.
I'd give them to one of these players. You can see none of the kings actually leaving, and that has not been utilized. These kings could have been microing. Imagine if Ollie gave all these jugs to, say, Douchey Bag, or who was over there? Was it Sky to Fox?
But then how do you get the damage numbers? I built the units. I want the damage numbers.
The tricky decision. Platinum Blonde. Oh, yes. Getting right in there with the commander. This is big.
Yes, boy. Yes.
Yes. That same corner of Eco has fallen that many times.
The Jug detonation, again, though, it's only killing off small segments of Ollie's base. Ollie is yet to lose an Aphis in all of this, or a large conversion field. Only a small to mid-sized one.
Doing really well. The pressure is back on the bottom right. Lloyd and Co have, and Stu Dubs have, is that a Juggernaut down here? It is. It's a resurrected Juggernaut. The best kind of Juggernaut.
The best kind of Juggernaut.
Don't want to take my eyes off what's happening over here. Demons now, the new flavour.
And that's the thing, the Juggernauts were getting pushed back so far that that they could no longer realistically be used because they'd start exploding the base.
I didn't answer your question. I wouldn't actually build a unit. I would go into mass EMP launches because I don't have the unit cap for spam. I'd be asking other players on the team to send some spam. Probably, I'd say, is it Potato to send spam up this way, or even just around the map. So sending it possibly around this way, like that, to try and at least curb the effects and have all the units focused on this northern point, and continuously just send like 30 EMP launches continuously landing in this zone. And not only is it going to stop the units attacking, some of those EMPs are going to stop these res bots from resing units. Might not kill them, but it's going to stop the units being built and resurrected. I think that would be my actions.
One of the other things you can do is just create a couple of the tier 1 labs with some build power on Rome nearby, and just set them to build infinite ticks, but also a quota of res bots. And instead of having it all move forward on a move command, have it all move forward on a fight command. So then the res bots just start eating things as they go, and then just transfer it into someone else's name. Just push it off. Your build turrets will build all the things, but the unit cap, which will mainly be ticks, won't. And that can make a pretty big difference because even though the reclaim isn't necessarily needed by the team, if you look at it, the kings are almost all maxed on metal. It's just money that you're preventing the peasants from getting. It's reclaim you're preventing the peasants from getting, and it clears up a pathway for your units to get through. Also, that advice is more relevant in games where the king in the middle wasn't able to get themselves 31 Aphis.
That's a lot of Aphis. More Juggernauts.
Yeah, that's a lot of Aphis.
A lot of shells in the ground. The wreckages, not shells, wreckages of units, actually stopping the peasants from being able to just cleanly walk up and over the hill. Once again, apologise for the lack of frames per second. Doesn't help that I'm moving around so much as well. The demons, they're going to stop this spam, but they're not going to stop these titans getting in. I can just see in the background there, Psycho Pew Pew and Potato going into a bunch of catapults. I dare say they're going to be a fantastic unit to try and siege over in that lane, and that kind of adds in what I would have done differently in the middle when you once again asked me that question about what to build. I probably would have had one T3 lab, take an armada constructor off of another player, and just put repeat on vanguards, and you can get a pack of vanguards together. You get like 40 together, and you can scout out juggernauts, just start making them explode from a long way away. And
if you can get 507 vanguards in a group, you can one-shot a juggernaut.
There we go. We have vanguard shots. We might finally see the next king fall. There's too many shots coming out. Piece of bread's base. There goes an Aphis. And there goes Ollie's biggest section of build power.
Oh,
now
no.
just to the 4 bays in the background.
And that's the thing, now this front side has fallen, now that sport's fallen, all the units are going to start creeping in.
Ollie,
which is
sacrilege. No!
Oh dear, there it goes. Look, I reckon Ollie could have held out for another minute or so, but at the end of the day, with the peasants having this much of a army advantage, this much of a damage advantage, and the economy now, or well, even before that explosion, swinging towards the peasant side of things, the peasants did have the win condition here, so we do appreciate not trying to draw the game out when it is already in a very losing position. It's still going to take a while for the kings to push forward. There's a lot of resistance in the way, and not necessarily in the form of units. It's wreckages. Wreckages are the problem.
I'm on the bottom right now, where we'll call it the southeast.
Oh,
catapults have finally been used.
Are those catapults that are nearly going to be in range of the Aphis that are right by the edge of that cliff?
Smartly not just pushing forward, taking out these scouted pulsars. So this corner has held out for over half of this match, but I'm not going to ask them to hold out against 3 behemoths, 4 behemoths, and a whole bunch of catapults.
The thing which I want to point out, yes, they've got a decent amount of eco. In this corner, there's 14 Aphis. But the fact is I don't think that number's changed in quite a while. Or if it has, it's barely changed. This is what happens when you focus everyone into a unified defenses. Someone getting the pulsars on the high ground, someone providing the spam, someone providing the sharpshooters, someone providing the resbots, someone providing all of the bits and pieces needed in order to hold this up. That if this had fallen, it would have freed up everyone else to start swinging. But it didn't. It just held a bastion of you cannot beat the peasants here.
And finally, we've got a couple kings dropping out of the game. Are we in range of these Aphis? Not quite. They're still done firing on the edge of this hill, but it's not going to be long until this corner starts to fall. Looking over to the middle, a triangulation of blue piercing the middle of the king's base. They've got no more solid economy. We have some pawns running past Psycho Pew Pew's Aphis, and you can just see Potato's eco going pop. They do have a little production facility down the bottom left. They were about to go into a whole bunch of Aphis. I do like that.
But do bear in mind, even if the kings get pushed out of the crater, but they're alive outside of the map, that is considered a loss for the kings. They have lost the hill. The kings still technically control the hill because there are multiple players still in there, despite the giant wedge of units making that a problem. But if the kings get completely ousted from the hill, that is a win for the peasants.
I missed the explosion getting distracted by Ligerians' D-guns. But it happened.
Well, I can tell you, it was catapults, and if they had been, if those had been, say, oh, I don't know, a little bit further back, they'd still be alive.
The kings, I think they have officially lost the hill. This is now a peasants' hill. Peasants of the hill, by AllReasonNoLogic. And guys,
with Rosie's comment there, that's certainly an indicator.
There are... Oh, well, there's still 8 commanders left, and look at this, it's still down here, just resurrected comms. If you guys like these videos, hit that follow, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. We host these King of the Hill games every Sunday. Haven't missed one for over a year now. They're quite fun. Almost everyone is welcome to be a king. Anyone is welcome to play. They get huge. We get well over 100 players at times, and they are a ball of fun.
If you want to be a king, the simple way to tell whether or not you're eligible is jump on into make a Raptors creator game. Just go in it on your own with an inactive AI. Give yourself 8 mexes in the middle. Give yourself the 60% bonus, and test whether or not by 10 minutes you can get 1 or 2 fusions, defenses at your ramp, and a small amount of T2 forces to defend.
I'd actually say do the 6
good
mexes.
enough.
Do the 6 mexes in a lane rather than the 8
Oh, sorry,
in the middle.
6 mexes, not 8 mexes.
Yeah,
My
just do
bad.
one of those lanes. If you can get 1 fusion units and some defenses, like Bray said, then you're ready.
Then that is all that's needed to qualify for kings.
Okay, we're in the slowdown of this
We're in
match.
the end game now.
I think you can tell who's going to win this. It really, for a
I
long
don't
time
know.
there, looked like the Kings had this once they started wrapping around. But they hit a brick wall. ARNL guys down the bottom right. A bunch more of skilled players on the top left, really holding that line up there. So really nicely done. And you can notice both of those things. Choke points. And this is why it's important. What I was saying earlier, this bottom left, they had to identify when these choke points were breached. You need to get out there, get your units, and push the Kings back down into the hole.
Also remember, you don't have to attack your lane or your corner. As long as you can hold, you're more than welcome to send your units elsewhere, because I think that the key to cracking this right-hand side was actually to go up through the ramp that had been cleared by the Juggernauts in the top right, and then sweep down through the back.
That's definitely the call through there, down there.
Yep.
That was definitely the right call.
Spam, vanguards, and a couple of meaty units
Gotta say
that
as
can
well,
deal with the T2,
On
and that would have been able to annihilate this bottom right-hand corner.
on that thinking as well, if you look at these 2 ramps here, and here, I mean, this one here's got a lot of pulses, so maybe this one over here, all the units that were coming out of red down here, they could have easily come over in that lane as well, and they probably would have popped a lot of this before it was defended heavily. I mean, I'm one of the biggest culprits of it. I get tunnel vision. I'm like, this is the lane I am pushing. I'm just going to focus on this, and I just end up...
That's the only reason that Kings is balanced. It's because people don't always make the best choice.
That's beyond all reason for you.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we still have Psycho Pew Pew with a couple of comms in the bottom. It
They've
is
actually
still
left.
winnable, but the forces are coming to clear those ones up. And when they do, we're going to give you a nice little rundown of exactly the stats and all of that good stuff. Razorbacks have found those comms, so they are not long for this world.
Scarv just going into the self-D, taking those as the last player there. They have known that defeat is there, and it has been a fantastic showing out of both sides. One of the closest matches, one of the longer matches of King of the Hill. Phenomenal effort out of both teams, and the peasants take that one.
Very nicely done. So why don't we have a look at those beautiful stats, Twig?
Alright, over to the graphs, because let's be honest,
There it
who
is.
can read that?
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. For your viewing pleasure, the stats the size of the moon. But what we can show you is the graphs. And the one I want to see is... can we not see metal wasted?
Metal wasted. Interesting.
Metal excess, I do
There we
believe.
go.
Metal excess. Just a little bit.
Mm.
Just a little bit. Now, the bit that really matters in this one is not necessarily the stuff that happened post 30 minutes. It's that first drop that happened around the 20-minute mark. That could have been good for the Kings. But at the end of the day, they did do a good job at holding out, and it wasn't a lack of resources. It was a lack of Juggernauts surviving each other's explosions.
I mean,
All right.
Ollie
Ladies
definitely
and gentlemen.
won the eco of the world. That is huge economy there. They produced 4,615,000. Huge.
It's an eco and a half right there.
Nicely done, guys. So once again, hit that like, subscribe. Pradith, any last words?
No, but I know that Tom has something to say. Oh wait, he's not here because we're redoing this because you stuffed up. And on that note, we'll catch you in the next one.